Hello again. Hope you're doing well. I'm Hardleg Joe, if you didn't know, and today I'd like to talk to you about voting, and whether or not it's even worth your time. Because a lot of people I talk to seem to think that it's pointless. And I can see why. Not only does America have an awful voting system, one that forces all our politicians into just two main parties, but both of those parties have a serious problem with corruption. Mostly because we allow corporations to make effectively unlimited campaign donations. Like, let's not beat around the bush here. Elections are largely decided by money, not popularity or policy. In the majority of races, the candidate that spends the most is the one who wins. Which means those politicians aren't motivated to do what's best for the voters. They're motivated to do what's best for their donors. The politicians who can help businesses make more money will then get bigger donations from those businesses, which they can then use in turn to help win more elections. It's a self-enforcing cycle, one that has only made things worse and worse with time. At this point, we're essentially an oligarchy, a country ruled by the rich. And as a result, nearly all of our politicians are just awful, just the worst kinds of people. Most of the time, you aren't voting for the best candidate. You're voting for the least awful candidate, the lesser of two evils. And even that can be difficult sometimes with how gerrymandered many states are. The fact is, our democracy is barely functional. I can see why so many of you have given up on it. Because it feels pointless. The unfortunate truth is, voting doesn't have much impact on your actual living conditions. But it does still have some impact. Most elections are decided by money, but not all of them. We do still have some influence, even if it's small. And just because both parties are bad, doesn't mean they're equally bad. There are some politicians who genuinely seem to care about this country, some that refuse to take large corporate donations. And even when it is a race between two obvious corporate puppets, well, some corporations are better than others. I know it sucks, having to vote for someone that you know is bad, someone that you know is corrupt. But the lesser of two evils is still better than the greater of two evils. And doing a little good is still better than doing nothing at all. So, yeah, you should still absolutely vote. But it's important to recognize the actual impact that voting has on our society. Because it's probably not what you think. Oftentimes, voting is treated like the end-all, be-all of democracy. Like it's the only way that we can influence our government. But voting is just one component of a much larger system. And part of the reason it's not very effective is because we're ignoring all the other components. Think of it like this. Voting is like exercising. If you want your body to be healthy, then you need to exercise, and you need to do it regularly. But you also need to eat right, because exercise alone won't do much if your diet is awful. And you also need to keep up with your hygiene, because no amount of diet or exercise is going to prevent infection or illness. My point is, having a healthy body is not as simple as doing one thing. You need to come at the problem from multiple angles if you want to get results. And more importantly, you can't only care about your health when it's bad. If you just exercise to lose weight and then stop once you've shed a few pounds, well, you're just going to gain that weight right back again. Maintaining a healthy body is not about short-term action. It's about building long-term routines, making it so that regular exercise is just a part of your everyday life. Voting is the same way. Just as exercise helps make your body healthy, voting helps make your society healthy. But in order for it to be effective, you've got to do it regularly, and it can't be the only thing that you do. I want to dive a little deeper there, starting with the voting regularly part. To many people, voting is something you do once every 4 years. They only vote in the presidential elections, while skipping all the others. And don't get me wrong, the president is important, but he usually doesn't have as much direct impact on your life as other politicians do. I mean, just for starters, it's Congress that actually makes the laws. So if you want sweeping changes to the system, you need to vote in the best possible congressperson from your area. Your state senator and your district representative are far more important than whoever's in the White House. So voting in the midterms is crucial. Even beyond that, though, there's the politicians who manage your state directly, your governor, the members of your state's legislature. A lot of the big things that people care about, taxes, food prices, education, policing, that stuff is handled at the state level. Hell, voting itself is mostly a state's issue. Each state gets to decide how their elections are run. So if you want to reform the way we vote, break the two-party system, end gerrymandering, ensure voters' rights, then you need to focus on your state politicians, because they are the ones who can most easily accomplish all that. Now, of course, learning about all these different politicians can be a lot. Like, it's fairly easy to keep up with 2 presidential candidates, but having to know a dozen different offices and all their dueling candidates can be more than a little overwhelming. Fortunately, the wonders of modern technology have made it super easy to get all the information you need. Most states have a website that lays out everything you could want to know: when elections are being held, who's running, where you can go, and a simple Google search should turn up everything. But even if your state doesn't have that, there's always Ballotpedia, an online encyclopedia of elections that tracks pretty much everything you can vote for. I've included a link in the description to their Ballot Lookup tool. You just type in your address, and it'll not only tell you when the next election is, it'll show you exactly who's on the ballot for every office. They may not have a ton of information on each candidate, but once again, Google is your friend here, because any candidate worth voting for is going to have an easy-to-find website that explains all their beliefs. Again, I know this might seem a little intimidating at first, but you can do this. Like so many things in life, the hardest part is just getting started. Once you've gotten used to looking up candidates, once you've become familiar with how your state does elections, once you've gone a few times, voting becomes not only easy, it becomes kind of exciting. Especially when it's not the only political action that you're taking. Going back to what I said before, just voting is like just exercising. Yeah, it's better than nothing. But if you want to see actual improvement, you've got to do more. Voting is a good start, but a healthy democracy requires its citizens to engage beyond simply casting their ballots. The American citizenship test, the one that immigrants have to take if they want to live here, lists 10 ways that citizens can participate in democracy. But really, all of those can be boiled down to 4 fundamental ideas. You can assist a politician, either by volunteering for their campaign, making a donation, or simply by talking to them and giving your insight as a citizen. You could also become a politician, or at least part of the political system. by either running for office yourself or joining a political party. If you don't want to be involved with the system, then you can help out your community directly by joining a civic organization or a mutual aid group, something that advocates on a specific issue. Or you can engage in political discourse by publicly talking about important topics and interacting with the media that discusses those topics. Now, ideally, everyone would do at least 3 of these things, in addition to voting. But realistically, even just doing 1 is a serious improvement. And with how many options there are, that shouldn't be too difficult. No matter how old or young you are, rich or poor, no matter what your skill set is, how comfortable you are around other people, you should be able to engage in at least one of those ways. And in doing so, you can help push us in the right direction. It's important to remember exactly what democracy is. It's us. People talk about the government as if it were some outside entity that controls our lives, but we are the government. At least we're supposed to be. It's just that somewhere along the line, our society seems to have lost sight of that. And despite how often people complain about the laziness of the younger generations, it was our parents and our grandparents who put us into this situation. They were the ones who became complacent. They were the ones who stopped being active citizens. Because they were comfortable with sitting in their nice suburban homes and just occasionally casting a ballot whenever it was convenient for them. That was what they taught us. That was what they passed along. And as a result, they have handed us a society where we are controlled by politicians instead of being the ones in control. If we want to improve the system that our predecessors have run into the ground, then we need to become that system once more. We need to step up. We, the people, the inheritors of this country, need to take back control of our government from the oligarchs and the corporations. We need to fix the mistakes of the past so that we can forge a brighter future. And the way that we do that is by becoming the politicians and the party members, by organizing our communities into forces of good, by steering public discussion in the right direction, and if nothing else, by supporting our fellow citizens who do step up to those challenges. By engaging with democracy and politics on a broader level, and by doing it regularly, we can make change happen in a way that is far more impactful than any single vote could hope to be. Now, of course, all of that is easier said than done. As much as I'd love for our generation to just sweep in and overturn the old corrupt system in an election or two, that isn't very realistic. Going back to my metaphor, it's easy to want a healthier life. It's fun to imagine a future where you're fit and active and you can do all the things that you want to do, but actually sticking to a diet and an exercise plan, especially when you won't see results for years, that's the hard part. The truth is, it's going to be a long, hard fight, and we won't win every election along the way. There will be setbacks and disappointments, especially if you live in an area where it's already difficult to vote. It won't be easy, but it's what needs to be done if we want any hope of improving. We need to make a long-term change to all our routines. And when it comes to doing that, the best advice I have is to take things slow. Baby steps. Set small, easy goals and achieve them. If you're not already registered to vote, start with that. If you are registered, then start looking at the upcoming midterms. Use the tool I've left in the description and make a plan to vote. Find out who's running in your area and who you're going to choose. If you can accomplish that goal, then take it one step further. Talk about it online. Write to the representative who won and tell them what you'd like to see. If there's an ideal that you're passionate about, look for a party or a civic group that also likes that ideal, and see if you can join them before the next election. You'll have plenty of time. Take this one step at a time, and just keep moving in the right direction. The huge strides aren't as important as the momentum. Slowly work democracy into your life until being a responsible citizen is just part of who you are. It may take a while, but all great change does. And when you're done, you will not only have improved your country, you will have improved yourself. And, as cliché as it may sound, you may just meet some friends along the way. But anyway, I think that's all I had to say on this particular topic. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, do all the YouTube stuff. More importantly, share it around. The more people we can reach, the better. As always, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to leave them down in the comments. I try my best to respond. And until next time, stay safe out there.